Hi guys, Skypoint here. The latest cards from the Malevolence expansion have just dropped. We have 20 new neutral cards in the game, and in this video we are going to be taking a look at what they are. We're going to start with Chaos, which has actually seen the most neutral cards. So let's go ahead and start seeing what we got. There are 10 new cards for Chaos. We're going to run through from cheapest to most expensive. First of all, at 1 energy, we have the new Cygnus Acolyte. Let's take a look at this guy. So it's some kind of a cultist. It's an infantry. It has 1 attack, 1 health, comes in at 1 energy. But look at this cool backlash ability it has. When it dies, it buffs a friendly infantry or demon troop. So that's actually pretty cool. It means these guys could have a role in pretty much any deck which uses troops or demons. So demons of the Ruined Storm or any of the neutral decks, or in fact any Space Marine deck where you're also sticking in a bunch of infantry. Not bad overall. The one problem with this card is it's conditional. If it dies while it's the only troop you have left alive, it does nothing. Or if all your other troops are killed, like during a board wipe, its backlash ability kind of does nothing. Because of that, I'm a bit hesitant about this guy. I'm sure you're going to see him get put to good use though in events. Alright, next up we have Cygnus Disciple. You'll notice, by the way, a lot of these new cards are called Cygnus something or the other because, of course, this whole neutral deck is to do with the fall of Cygnus. So, the fall of the Cygnus system, where the Blood Angels first came across demons. Before the Blood Angels arrived, the demons overran it, and that's what the neutrals are to do with. Alright, so Cygnus Disciple, 2 energy, 2 attack, 2 health. And it has, again, a very similar ability to Cygnus Acolyte, but it's 0 cost, and instead of just buffing a single friendly infantry or demon troop, it gives +1 attack to all of your infantry and demons. This could be very useful, but I think the warlord who's going to put this to best use will be Thaddeus Fail, because he can give this guy flank the moment it comes in play, which turns it into effectively a 2 energy tactic, which will buff all your infantry and demon troops which are currently on the board. So again, not bad. It's a little bit conditional. The guys have to survive a full turn in order to trigger their ability, and of course they can't attack and use their ability at once, so you have to decide what you want to do with them. If you have more than 1 or 2 troops on the board, I think this would be worth it, but again, it's sort of conditional to get to that, so not terribly excited about these dudes. Alright, let's keep running through. Next up, we have the Cygnus Fnatic. Oh wow, okay, this is a little bit better. This is a much more interesting card. It comes in at 2 attack with 2 energy with 1 attack and 3 health, which is pretty average. But look at this, whenever a friendly troop dies, it heals completely and gains +1 attack. So if you plan to play this guy in a turn where you're also attacking with one of your troops, it turns into a 2 energy, 2 attack, 3 health unit, which is pretty good, and if you got the more troops you have who are going to attack and die, the better. That makes this pretty flexible. I can actually see him fitting in well with word bearers who often have a very troop focused board where a lot of things are dying, and that'll suddenly turn Cygnus Fnatic into a pretty significant threat. Of course, with only 3 health, he's vulnerable to Seek and Destroy, as well as Gabriel Santar's ability and Abaddon's ability. So he's not that difficult to take off the board, but he can become an irritant for sure. This guy could well be worth the 2 energy. After the Fnatic comes the Adept. Let's look at this guy. Alright, so this is better. Coming in at 3 energy, I keep saying attack. 3 energy with 2 attack and 3 health. The Cygnus Adept has a very handy energy ability. You spend 1 energy and you gain a 2 energy cost cultist. That's pretty efficient and is going to make this guy pretty dangerous to use, I think. Sorry, pretty dangerous for the enemy to face, I think. So, Cygnus Adept is looking interesting to me. I think it can be practical. Hide him behind a frontline troop and use him to start pumping out units. This guy could work out pretty nicely. Or give him escape vent when you drop him. And then you're guaranteed to be able to start getting, almost guaranteed, unless the enemy has anti-stealth units or area damage, you can start pumping out units and getting fairly good value out of him. Of course, this will also work very well with Thaddeus Fail, who can put this guy in play, give him flank, and then activate his ability. So that would be for Thaddeus a 6 energy play, but for that you would get a 3 energy cost unit on the board, a 2 energy cost unit on the board, and you would also, of course, with Fail's ability, draw a card, which is not too terrible. Okay, that's the first 4 of the new cards we've seen. Let's keep going down to some of the more expensive ones now. At 5 energy, we have the Cygnus Demagog. So, it has average stats for it, well, slightly below average stats for its cost. 5 energy, but it comes in at 3 attack and 5 health. When an enemy dies, put a Cygnus Acolyte, so one of these guys, in your hand. I don't like this, because if this guy had put a Cygnus Acolyte in play, it would be very useful and powerful. All it's doing is it's creating a card in your hand which you still have to play next turn, costing energy, and the Cygnus Acolyte is pretty easy to die. I don't know, it just feels like it's... I'm sure there's going to be some kind of deck build where it has synergy, like again with Word Bearers, who have the Space Marine who gives a bonus to infantry who get put in play and gives them frontline and things like that. For a build around that, this could be an interesting possibility, but I just think that you'd have to think very carefully about how you plan to put Cygnus Demagog to good use. Alright, we're about to see the first new epic card in the game, which is the EightFold Brand. Oh man, they got a color version of this artwork. That's beautiful. Alright. Give your warlord Relentless. Create a random Cygnus cult troop in your hand. So I think that basically means any of these troops who have Cygnus in their name. This is very similar to the 5-cost cards. It's legendaries though, not epics. For the... Mechanicum, the one which creates a Mechanicum troop in your hand every turn. The big difference here is, first of all, this will only create cheap units, so whereas the Mechanicum one often creates legendaries. It does cost the same as the Mechanicum card, which was the Forge, so you might think this is absolutely inferior. The big difference is that this is an epic card, not a legendary, so you can play 2 of these and generate 2 cards a turn. But honestly, I feel that the troops this is going to be creating are not terribly great troops. I don't like these Cygnus cultists that much. Some of them are useful, but of course, I don't know. Like, I feel that for 5 energy, the payback you're getting is most often a bunch of fairly weak troops. So I'm not a gigantic fan of this at the moment. Of course, you could combo this with the other EightFold Brand. You could also combo it with the Mechanicum card that creates a Mechanicum troop, and then turn your warlord into just a troop creation machine. But that takes a lot of energy, and I'm not sure if you'll get payback on that before the match ends. If this had created a random chaos card, I would have thought this would be a fantastic tactic. Because it's only creating Cygnus cult troops, I feel it's a little weak. And then the final chaos card we have, I believe, anything else which I'm missing? No, there are a couple more. I haven't seen them all yet. So how many have we seen right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 6 is Riders of Wad. What is this guy? When attacking, give +1 attack until the end of turn to your infantry and demon troops. Okay, this has a lot of synergy with all those cheap Cygnus Cults troops who I said were not that great. It's interesting. If you have a full board of troops, this guy is going to be really dangerous for your enemies. But that's a big if. And one thing you may have constantly heard me harping on about is I'm not a huge fan of conditional cards which need you to set up something complex, like having a whole bunch of troops on the board. So I personally think I'm going to be giving Riders of Wad a bit of a pass. Okay, so that's number 6. Let's keep going here. Why do I feel like I am missing a couple? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh man, this feels so bad. Okay, no, I see. I have missed 4. I'm missing 4 more. We'll find them in a moment. I can see 3 of them. Alright, let's go on with this. Fate's Death. This is a common. It's a Basilisk tank, 8 energy cost, 4 attack, and 8 health. But it has a neat little energy ability. Spend 1 energy to deal 4 damage. If that ability kills a target, add a Taint of Chaos to your hand. So that's a variant on Noga Heal. Noga Heal is also a Basilisk. If its energy ability is you spend 3 energy and you deal 6 damage, but in order to add a Taint of Chaos, Noga Heal has to attack directly, which cuts down its health and then means it's going to die soon. Whereas Fate's Death can just sit there shooting away, including at the enemy warlord, and if it's killing targets, you're gaining a Taint of Chaos. Because of that, I think Fate's Death is actually better than Noga Heal. And I am probably going to replace Noga Heal wherever it appears in my decks, which is mostly my Colonel Ornatov deck. I will be replacing it with Fate's Death. I actually think Fate's Death is an upgrade over Noga Heal, despite Noga Heal being green, so rare, and Fate's Death being common. Next up, we have Mass Offering. What's this one doing? It's a tactic. Deal 4 damage to all units, and it becomes cheaper whenever a friendly Chaos Infantry dies. That's an interesting card. It's basically a mass area damage, but it needs lots of your own troops to have died first, ideally, in order to kill lots of the enemy troops. It's essentially an upgrade on, where's it gone here? Volcanic Instability, I think. Volcanic Instability is a 5 energy cost card. There we go. Which deals 3 damage to 5 random units. Mass Offering will deal 4 damage to everything, and it gets cheaper as Chaos Infantry dies. And hopefully if you're playing a deck which uses this, you've got lots and lots of cheap infantry being thrown out. So you can use Mass Offering as a board clearance and a clutch. So I think this could be interesting. It's not a bad card, needs a bit of thought to use, but I think it's easier to set up and get value out of than something like Riders of Wad. Alright, we also have Summoning Ritual over here. Let's take a look at Summoning Ritual. Display 3 demons, choose 1 and put it in play. -1 cost when a friendly Chaos Infantry dies. Okay, that's not bad. It's similar to Mass Offering, but it just relies on... it gives you a demon. It's probably a random set of demons, but you get to choose from 3, which is not terrible. And it's going to be kicking in most likely in late game. I think this is not bad. We'll just need to see how often it gives you a greater demon versus like a bunch of super cheap ones. What you really don't want is to finally play Summoning Ritual and discover it's giving you a choice between Swarm of Flies, Nurglings, and like Battle Flies. Where's Battle Flies gone? They're somewhere around here. Yeah, whatever. So hopefully when you play this, you're going to get a choice of like good demons. Interesting. Alright, as I said, I'm missing 1 card. There were supposed to have been 10 new Chaos cards. I'm having trouble spotting 1 of them. So the way I'm going to discover what that 1 card, which I don't have, is let's go back to here, and we're going to look for the card which I don't have in this list here. So we've done Cygnus Acolytes, Cygnus Disciples we did. Let's take a look here. Cygnus Adepts we did. EightFold Brand we did, Cygnus Demagog we did as well. Alright, maybe that was it. Maybe there were only 9, or maybe I miscounted how many I covered. Yeah, that's it. Okay, I must have covered them all. Interesting. I must have miscounted. Let me know if I did something wrong over there, guys. Alright, so that was a look at the new Chaos cards. So with that, we are going to get into looking at the new Imperial Army and Mechanicum cards, and that's going to include the first new legendary in the game. Alright, let's go. So we're going to start, as I said, from cheapest to most expensive, which happens to be the first new legendary, which is one of the few one-cost legendaries. Kaiser Lane. So he was a character from the book The Outcast Dead. Comes in at 1 energy cost with 1 attack and 2 health. Oh my. This is not bad. This is a little bit of a cool guy. He has precognition, so he's invulnerable to regular attack. Although, of course, special attacks like warlord abilities or tactics or area damage can still hit him. But his energy ability is very powerful. Spend 1 energy and you display 3 random tactics. You get to choose one of those and add it to your hand. I think this is very useful. I can definitely see myself wanting to include Kaiser Lane. This is not a bad card. A little bit vulnerable, but it only costs 1 energy, and in a best case scenario, you're getting a bunch of troops. I keep harping on about this. Thaddeus Fail can of course get a lot of value out of this by essentially turning it into a 4 energy cost play. You play Kaiser Lane, you give him flank for 2, then you activate his ability. And you're spending 4 energy to put a body on the board and then draw create a tactic in your hand as well as draw a troop from your deck. Sorry, create a random troop because of Thaddeus Fail's ability. So not bad. Just to show that ability over here, Thaddeus Fail will spend 2 energy, you give flank to your troops and add an infantry to your hand. So Kaiser Lane, a very interesting looking guy. Next up, Close Call. This is a tactic. Return a friendly damaged troop to your deck and draw a card. So I think White Scars will be using this a lot because they're all about returning the troops to deck. But many other factions can do this. I have a horrible feeling this will be going into Conrad Kurt's decks so that in late game they can play the Raven over and over and over again. Oh well. Alrighty, next, Demoralize Militia. This is a unit with 2 energy and very good stats for 2 energy. Its only drawback is your opponent gets to draw a card. This is going to go into a lot of Alpha Legion decks, I'm sure, regardless of whether it's Alpharius or whether it's a Traps deck. In a deck where you want the enemy to work through your card, work through their deck, this is a no-brainer to include. And honestly, for many decks, it's not bad either, because you're getting a very good troop for 2 energy with the drawback of just helping your enemy to increase their hand size at the end. This is a big upgrade over Fleeing Populace, which is a free but poor troop, which helps your opponent to draw a card for taking only 1 damage. With Demoralized Militia, when your opponent kills these guys, let's say if he was to attack him directly, he will take 3 points of damage. Of course, he could just use a tactic to kill it, but still. This is not bad. I mean, it's a common card, but I think it's pretty good. Xenos Threat. Give front line to a friendly Astartes or infantry until your next turn and draw a card. This is great. I've always keep saying, drawing a card out of your deck is worth 2 energy. So this is effectively draw a card as well as give a unit front line, which is obviously very useful. I think Xenos Threat is an excellent card. It's going to go in many decks, not just neutral decks. Pretty much most factions, except maybe Demons of the Ruinstorm, can get a lot of value out of this card. And the final new card from the Imperial Army is Arcology. It's an epic card. It's a structure, and at the end of each turn, put in play a Calth infantry. And then when it dies, you put in play, wow, 5 unsettled populace. So what a Calth infantry is, of course, this guy. What it said is put in play, so it probably, yeah, so my understanding is it won't trigger Rally, because Rally only works when a unit is played out of your hand. So Arcology is a structure, which will, at the end of each of your turns, including the turn when you play it, create a Calth infantry, and when it dies, it creates 5 unsettled populaces. Honestly, that's not bad. I mean, as long as you have room for your 5 unsettled populace, this is worth it, I guess, because 5 unsettled populace are worth 5 energy on their own, right? Because they cost, actually not even 5, sorry, 0, but For a one attack, 1 health unit, I mean, really, you can put a fair value on that of 1 energy, as well as creating a Calth infantry. Yeah, I actually think it's not a bad idea, unless your board gets filled up and then the backlash effects gets wasted. So there is that. It's an interesting card for sure. I have a feeling there are going to be a lot of people who get intensely irritated by it. Alright. And we only have one more faction to look at then, which is the new Mechanicum cards, which will include another legendary. Okay, let's start with a 1-cost epic card, Scrap Code. Reveal a card in your opponent's hand. If it's a tactic, deal 2 damage to the enemy warlord and draw a card. What this means is deal 2 damage to Angron and draw a card. Alright, because most Angrons are just all tactics, right? This is a neat card. It's very situational. Because if the card is not a tactic, you spend 1 energy and done nothing. Even if it's a tactic, you spend 1 energy and deal just 2 damage. I guess you get to see a card in your enemy's hand, so you can sort of prepare for what he has. Yeah, I guess this is interesting. Yeah, alright, I think this gets a... I'll chalk this card up as being average, because sometimes it can be nearly useless, other times it could be kind of handy if the guy has a tactic. Next up we have Intel Report. Your opponent draws a card, put a copy of it in your hand. So this is the We Are All Alfarius card, because it allows you to just duplicate Alfarius' ability. Just not bad. Not bad at all. I like it. I actually think this could be very useful. It's basically 2 energy to create a card, although your opponent gets it as well. Next up we have Transmechanic, which is an infantry. Okay, this one I'm not so keen on. 2 energy, sub-average attack, above average health, give +1 to all your vehicles that are in play. It's a mildly useful ability, but they have to survive until the next turn, and they're quite easy to kill. And for the enemy to attack them, there's very little trade-off because they're only going to deal 1 point of damage to whoever hits them. So these guys, not super impressive. Mostly because they have to survive until the next turn. If they had Rally, I would say it's better. Like, you'd actually be much more likely to get the value out of these guys if it's a one-off Rally ability to boost your vehicles. The way they are right now, not so keen. Next up, War Room. This is interesting. This is cool. It's a tactic. It's draw a tactic from your deck and reduce its cost by 2, which essentially means you spend 1 energy in total to draw a tactic out of your deck. For builds where you're hunting for particular tactic cards, I think this could be a useful one to add in there. So I'm going to give this a thumbs up. Alright, and then we're almost done. I believe the last one we have here. Okay, man, this is hard to tell. Because that is a new card, but it does not look new. Am I missing anything else here? Oh my god, I'm going to have to go through the whole deck again like I did with Chaos, aren't I? Alright, well, let's start with the other legendary, because that's what we're here to see. Abominable Intelligence. 9 energy, 9 attack, 9 health. It has shield and attacks by itself at the end of the turn. So it's basically like K-Ban Machine. Come on, K-Ban Machine. There we go. Okay, that's a bit glitchy. Let's go down and take a look here. Yeah, going to the bottom, we're looking at K-Ban Machine, which is over here. So K-Ban Machine is 10 energy. It starts with a shield, and then it attacks by itself at the start of its turn, and you can have 2 of them because they are epic. Abominable Intelligence is a slight upgrade or downgrade, depending on your view. It's slightly cheaper. It only has 9 attack and 9 health. It starts with a shield, and attacks by itself, but the big difference is at the beginning of each of your turns it gains its shield back, which makes it better than K-Ban Machine. That is very interesting. This is not bad. Its biggest drawback is attacking by itself. You could view it as a fairly reliable way of crushing the enemy front line every turn, though. So there is that. I personally don't like attack by itself at the start of its turn units, though, so I might be giving this guy a pass. Unless someone comes up with a really wonderful use for him, or once I actually start using him, if I discover that he's incredible. Alright, let's just quickly check to see, have I missed any cards? Because I thought there was going to be one more Mechanicum card, but I might be wrong. And that looks like it. We did War Room already. We did Trans Mechanic, we did Intel Report, and we did Scrap Code. Yeah, okay, that was it, guys. So, this all looks very interesting. What do you think? Let me know, and stay tuned for my next video where I'm going to be trying to open a ton of crates up. Alright, until then, bye for now.